When I think about this third sense of dessert, I think about pharmaceutical companies. As things stand, in our country at least, if a pharmaceutical company develops a drug, they can get a patent for a certain number of years, and they can charge what price they choose. After that time is expired, generic companies can make the drug and sell it for a cheaper price. Certain other countries don't allow that. Right? So they say, no, there are no patents on pharmaceuticals. Any company that can find a way to make it can make it, and that's that. So you might ask, so we could look at it this way. Someone who had enough money to invest in stock in a pharmaceutical company makes a lot of money, right? And what do they make it from? Well, they make it because someone has a disease that they perhaps got through no fault of their own, right? And that person is forced to spend a lot of money to cure the disease. Right? In some cases, it's really your money or your life. You pay the high price for the drug, which may be difficult for you to afford, or you don't get it. So some people would say, that's not right. And there's something to be said to that argument. But what's the basic justification for allowing patents on pharmaceuticals? One of the main justifications, and a very Rawlsian justification, is the following. When we allow patents on pharmaceuticals, it gives an incentive for companies to invest large amounts of money in research and development. Right? And it takes a lot of money to do the research and development. Okay? So at certain stages in the process, right, they need an enormous capital investment, but they're taking a huge risk because at that stage in development, they need to put in a lot of money, but they don't know yet whether it will be safe and effective. So it might turn out that they're spending all of this money and they will get no profit from it. Now, what is the point of bringing this out? Well, if they can't make enough money from the drugs that do succeed, right, then it won't be worthwhile for them to invest money, right, in drugs that might succeed. Right? So you have to if you don't allow them to make those huge profits off the drugs in their first few years, right, then they won't invest the money in research and development. I have a cousin who works in, I believe, biochemistry. Right? And I asked him one day, I said, okay, is this true? Right? Here's an argument to the contrary. Right? Some people argue, look, scientists just like doing research. Plenty of people out there who love to research for its own sake. They're not going to demand super high salaries. And so we could get the pills invented. We could get the medicines and treatments invented, right, without investing these enormous sums of money. Now, here's what my cousin said to me. He said, well, the thing that's missing is the following. It's one thing to invent a chemical. It's another thing entirely to be able to mass produce it. And he argued that, yes, we might get the development of all kinds of new and effective pharmaceuticals, but just because he can make something in a lab, right, doesn't mean that he can make huge quantities of it in a cost-effective way. So his argument was where we really need the capital incentive is not so much developing a new medicine as finding a way to mass produce new medicines. Right? So, right, we might look at this and say, well, in an important sense, yes, the fact that the stockholders in the pharmaceutical companies get all this money, right, is actually consistent with public rules and their purposes. Why? Because the reason the rules are there is to give an incentive for people to do things like invest and work harder, right? So that other people can have medicines that they really need. Now, yes, for a few years, that may mean that some people have enormous trouble getting those medicines, or in some cases, perhaps can't get the medicines. Right? But after a certain number of years, the patent's going to run out, and then the price will drop dramatically. Right? So especially for the sake of all those people 10, 15 years down the road when the patent runs out, right, it's good that we do things this way. Right? So letting the pharmaceutical companies' investors have the money is consistent with the public rules and their purposes.